Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. Her ring split my lip as she pressed in. I tasted blood and panic and heat. 4 weeks, she breathed against my mouth. I love you more than him. The fridge hummed like a dare I couldn't ignore. I'm Alex, 28, and this is the moment that broke me. My hands hovered, then found her shoulders. She shook like she'd jumped without looking. Stop, I managed, voice thin and guilty. Her eyes begged for yes, not mercy. She reached again and I sidestepped hard. Her phone kept buzzing on the counter. Theo's name flashed and flashed and flashed. She silenced it with her thumb. My heart hit the floor and didn't bounce. Tell me I'm not crazy, her breath hitched. You're not crazy, my mouth moved before consent. Then don't make me marry the wrong person. The room tightened until I could barely breathe. I stared at the door like it was armed. What happens if I say yes? I wiped my lip. You choose me, she said, hands clenched. You choose me and we deal with fallout. Fallout means him, I said, throat raw. She nodded once, like stepping into traffic. I tried logic and failed at calm. You tell him tonight or this ends. Her shoulders lifted as if bracing for weather. Give me 1 day, she whispered, eyes fierce. Tomorrow I do it, no hiding. The phone rang again, louder this time. She turned it face down and grabbed my wrist. Look at me, her grip was iron. I don't want a maybe with you. My mouth wanted yes while my spine stalled. Footsteps outside, then keys at the door. We both froze like thieves in daylight. Mara pushed me toward the hallway fast. Bathroom, she mouthed, pulse hammering at her throat. The lock clicked and I counted backwards. The door opened and Theo's voice carried lightly. Babe, traffic was brutal, I grabbed takeout. Bags rustled and the sink dripped in sync. I pressed my palm to tile for silence. He walked closer and my breath shortened dangerously. Mara, he was right outside the door. You hear, a pause sharp enough to cut. I'm showering, she called, tone steady. Water roared on and hid my shaking. I felt my future thin to a thread. He lingered, then retreated with a soft laugh. Footsteps faded down the hall to the kitchen. The shower kept running like an alibi. Mara slipped in and locked us together. We're not cowards, she whispered, daring me to disagree. We're trapped, I whispered back, jaw tight. Not if we choose a direction, her gaze burned. We start with the truth and take the hit. I pictured Theo's face when it landed. I nodded because there was no safe door. She turned off the water and listened hard. Come by the cafe at 8, she said. I'll have the ring off by then. The handle turned and every nerve screamed. I slipped out first and vanished down the stairs. I reached the cafe at 8 sharp and kept moving. She waited outside and flicked the ring into my palm. Hold it, she breathed, eyes steady and unblinking. Cars rolled past like time refusing to stop. I pocketed the metal and felt its weight press. We have 10 minutes, she murmured and checked the street. I drafted a message, I want to read it. Her hand trembled and then flattened on my wrist. If I hesitate, take the phone from me. I nodded once and braced for impact. We pushed through the door and kept to the side. She set her phone on the table face up. A text sat open with lines cut short. Not like a break, like a truth. She inhaled, then pressed send before I blinked. 3 dots appeared and vanished and returned. The screen lit with a call and kept ringing. She stared at me and didn't move an inch. Answering would erase the message before it landed. We watched the timer crawl and finally stop. A reply arrived with 6 tight words. Where are you? We need to talk. She exhaled through her teeth and typed again. Meet me tomorrow morning, no one else. Another call crashed in and split our nerve. She slid the phone toward me like contraband. Put it away, I can't keep looking. I dropped it into my jacket and zipped up. Walk with me, she said and headed out. We left 2 glasses untouched and unpaid. On the sidewalk she matched my pace and grit. I told my mom I'm canceling, she whispered. She thinks I'm exhausted and confused. She will hear the rest tomorrow after breakfast. Her jaw set like a door I couldn't open. A shape moved near the corner and waved hard. Theo jogged toward us with a tight smile. He lifted a hand like a flag for peace. Please hear me, I read your text. My chest tightened as he slowed in front. I deserve the truth now, not later. He looked at our shoes and then my face. Is there someone else or is this cold feet? Mara's fingers found mine between quick breaths. Silence stretched until I thought it would snap. She pulled her hand back and stood taller. There is another choice, not a fling. His head tilted like he misheard the world. Since when be spec? Ifek no vague answers. Her throat worked and nothing came out. I'll give you space tonight, I promise. He rubbed his forehead and tried to focus. Tomorrow we sit together and sort it. His eyes flicked to my pocket and lingered. Do you have it? Are we finished already? I placed the ring in her open palm. Her fingers closed around it and stayed closed. We're not finished, but we're not proceeding. He swallowed once and looked past both of us. Then I will wait, but not forever. He stepped back and turned without drama. No door slam, no scene, only measured steps. His restraint scared me more than a shout. Mara watched him vanish into the crossing crowd. She unclenched her fist and shook out the ache. We crossed to the river path and kept walking. Tomorrow I tell him everything, no shields. Her voice steadied as if speaking built structure. If I freeze, you push me forward. I agreed and felt the line tighten around us. A gust cut through my jacket and cleared fog. Tonight you go home and lock the door. Do not meet me again in secret. Let the truth walk in under bright lights. She nodded and slipped the ring into her bag. Her phone buzzed again and again and again. I handed it back and watched her breathe slow. She typed a single sentence and hit send. I'll see you at 9, not a minute earlier. The screen went dark and our plan stayed fragile. We stopped at the corner where we usually split. I'm scared of who I will be after. She leaned in and didn't touch me at all. Promise you won't vanish if he yells. I promised and tasted the cost of it. She headed left and I turned toward the station. Every step felt like choosing a side and burning bridges. I checked over my shoulder for shadows and doubt. No one followed, yet the night pressed close. Tomorrow waited like a courtroom with no exits. At home I placed the ring on my desk. I took a photo and deleted it fast. Proof felt dirty, yet I feared my own memory. I locked the door and kept my shoes on. Sleep would not come without a fight. Just past midnight a final message arrived. Thank you for meeting, we keep talking tomorrow. No accusation, only resolve and a warning. I placed the phone face down and listened hard. Somewhere a siren rose and fell like a verdict. I didn't draft answers or rehearse brave lines. I sat in the dark and counted breaths. I pictured chairs and hands and a choice. I pictured walking in and not looking away. I knew morning would pull the pin on everything. I reached the corner at 9 and kept walking. She stood by the door, already waiting for him. Once we start, we finish, she murmured without blink. Footsteps approached behind us with brisk purpose. I swallowed and refused to look away. He stopped at arm's length and studied our faces. Inside, he said and pulled the door open. We chose a table near the back wall. No menus, no filler, only breath and pulse. He folded his hands like a referee before kickoff. You sent me that message and vanished. His gaze pinned me for one long second. Is this a mistake or a decision? Mara steadied herself and met him head on. I am ending our plan if I must. His jaw worked, then eased like a held muscle. Is there a path where we slow down? He kept his tone even, but his foot tapped. We can move the date and rethink budgets. I felt the offer circle us like smoke. We are not rescheduling, she gripped the edge. This isn't nerves, she added with a small nod. I want a different life path with someone else. He looked to me and waited for clarity. The room felt smaller with every quiet second. Is this new or was I blind? He reached for water and missed the glass. I kept my voice low enough to hold shape. It changed recently and I am not proud. He listened and inhaled like he counted to 10. Did you plan this behind my back for months? His words clipped the table between us hard. No, she answered and lifted her shoulders once. It happened fast and I should have stopped. He blinked as if recalibrating the ground. Then tell me the next step right now. He faced her fully and ignored me. I need actions and I need timelines. She opened her bag and removed the small box. She pushed it forward like it weighed a ton. Take it back today and call the planner. Her fingers hovered and then pulled away quick. I will handle my parents after lunch alone. His stare softened at the word parents, then hardened. Do not make me do your work. I am doing mine and then yours follows. She sat taller and kept her hands visible. This choice includes pain, she said and held still. Not chaos for sport, she finished with a press. He nodded once like a verdict hit home. He turned to me for the first real question. Are you prepared to stand in daylight after this? No hiding, he added and kept his eyes steady. I felt my throat dry and still said yes. The answer tasted like iron and co. End sequence. Then you both owe people honest words. He slid the box into his coat without flourish. We still have a dinner tomorrow with family. Canceling today will detonate that room, he warned. The word dinner landed like a trap inside me. Call it off now and spare everyone, I urged. Do not drag it one more breath. He raised a palm and lowered it with care. I will cancel after I talk to them. They deserve the truth from me, not a text. Myra rubbed her thumb over a nick on the table. I will meet your mother this afternoon, she offered. We explain together and we do not blame. He studied her like she was a stranger finally. You still think I want partnership in goodbye? Silence stretched, then snapped when my phone buzzed. I didn't check it and he noticed anyway. Are you two together as of now? He kept his voice controlled but his nostrils flared. I glanced at Mara and held that look. We are choosing each other and we know the cost. The words burned and cleared something heavy. He leaned back and let them settle around us. Then I want one promise from you both. Do not lie about the timeline to anyone. She nodded first and I echoed her quickly. He stood and pushed in his chair once. I am canceling the rehearsal today before noon. I will ask for deposits tomorrow if possible. Practical language kept us all from shaking apart. He reached into his pocket and placed keys down. Take the apartment for the week while you sort. I will stay with a friend until things stabilize. Kindness from him landed harder than any shout. Myra bit her lip and looked ready to fall. Thank you, I said and meant it completely. He looked at me and exhaled through his nose. Bring her by for clothes at 3 sharp. No drama and no touching in that space. Rules felt merciful and brutal in one sweep. We stepped outside and he stayed back a moment. Tell the planner the event is off by email. He lifted the phone and started composing immediately. No flinch, no tears, only structure and speed. I realized he would survive and it scared me. On the sidewalk, Mara gripped my sleeve once hard. I have to talk to my mother now. I want you there, but she might explode. I checked my watch and weighed the fallout. Invite me and I stand beside you. She hesitated, then sent a short message quickly. Come at noon and do not bring anyone. The reply arrived with a single letter and a period. We read it and shared a breath of dread. Family would not be a softer battlefield. He passed us on his way to the curb. He paused and looked at both of us carefully. You owe him more mercy than you owed me. He meant her father and we both understood. He got in a car and didn't look back. We walked toward the bus stop without speaking. A florist nearby adjusted a display and watched us. Mara stopped and pressed her forehead against my chest. After her we go to mine, she murmured. And after that we tell your people everything. I felt the day tilting from complicated to impossible. Then tonight you sleep at my place without hiding. No sneaking and no cover stories and no whispers. She lifted her face and set her mouth firm. Tonight we live like we already told everyone. My phone buzzed again and this time I checked it. A message from an unknown number waited silently. Please do not do this to Theo, it read. Another followed with a screenshot of our linked profiles. Someone was already tracking the pattern we made. I showed her and she flinched, then straightened. We move faster than gossip or we drown. She tightened the strap on her bag and nodded. 3 sharp for the apartment, then dinner calls. Everything suddenly had a clock attached to it. At noon we faced a door I dreaded. I knocked and felt my stomach turn hard. Steps approached slow and exact like counts in a drill. The lock clicked and the hallway swallowed our sound. We looked at each other once and went inside. The door opened and her mother blocked the hallway. Inside now, her eyes scanned our distance like a ruler. I heard rumors before breakfast, she added with tight precision. Maura stepped past her without flinching. I followed and felt the temperature drop. We are ending the engagement, Mara started with clipped control. No second thoughts and no postponement, her shoulders squared. Her mother looked at my shoes, then up. Because of you, she concluded, mouth a hard line. Silence gathered like storm birds waiting to dive. Look at me when you answer, the mother demanded. Is this infatuation or a plan? The words struck true. Mara lifted her chin and didn't blink once. It's a choice with consequences we accept. The mother turned toward me with surgical calm. What do you offer besides chaos? Her hands tightened. Loyalty, I said and kept my tone steady. Accountability even when it hurts, my throat burned. She weighed that as if measuring grain. You will apologize to his parents tonight. We will apologize to everyone required, Mara answered cleanly. Not for existing for the delay, her jaw set. Her mother's gaze shifted to the bag. Return the gifts before sundown, she said and pointed. People already called me with theories. A phone rang in the next room and stopped. Her mother drew a breath like a verdict forming. Leave keys here after you collect your things. No drama in the building, she added flat. The word leave landed like gravel in my shoes. Mara opened her wallet and slid one key forward. I'll bring the rest by evening, she said. First we go to the apartment at 3. Her mother's head tilted at the time. Theo agreed to that, I added for clarity. And you plan to live together immediately. Her mother didn't blink while waiting for impact. Tonight we will not hide, Mara replied slowly. We will sleep under one roof and inform everyone. The sentence tasted like metal, but it held. Then you call your father before lunch, the mother ordered. No surprises at dinner, not one, her tone sliced neat. Mara reached for my wrist and stopped halfway. Her mother noticed the pause and filed it away. Keep distance in my home while you remain. We moved to the doorway and the mother followed. Do not post anything or feed gossip, she warned. His family deserves a calm message first. Mara nodded and pulled the door open fast. The hall felt narrow like a funnel to consequence. On the sidewalk she exhaled and checked her phone. A text from Theo waited with 2 instructions. Come at 3 sharp, no touching in the apartment. Another line followed like a trap disguised as help. Bring bags, take everything that is yours. We will do it clean, I said and meant it. No scenes and no tears on the floor. Mara tucked her hair behind one ear and steadied. Afterward we meet his mother, then yours. Every hour now carried a task and a risk. At 2:50 we reached the building and paused. Theo stood near the entrance with a single envelope. Rent through the month, he said without ceremony. He placed it between us like a final favor. Mara flinched and nodded once, then pushed inside. We entered the living room and found labeled piles. His discipline stung more than any insult. Clothes, books, photos, the categories were stark. Bathroom last, he added with a glance at me. Territory lines drawn with quiet precision. We packed without speaking and kept our distance. Our hands met over a framed print and recoiled. Theo watched from the doorway like a sentinel. Trash the duplicates if you must, he murmured. Mara sorted fast and left none behind. An alarm buzzed on his watch and he silenced it. 15 minutes remain, he announced and stepped aside. I caught a glimpse of a suitcase near the chair. He was leaving tonight and planned every minute. The knowledge hurt worse because it was smart. In the bedroom she paused at the closet and froze. A hanger held a dress with a stitched date. She touched the hem and then released it. Donate or store your choice, Theo offered briskly. Mara folded it into a bag without looking back. We finished and zipped the last case tight. Theo moved to the window and faced the street. Thank you for not lying anymore, he said. He steadied himself on the sill and exhaled. I will recover, but I will not forget. Mara stepped toward him and stopped short. I want to repay what we can, she offered. Money helps only a little, he replied evenly. Respect helps more, he kept his gaze outward. I expect a message to my mother by 6. We'll send it before 5, I answered quickly. He turned then and met my eyes head on. Do not make her your alibi, he warned low. Stand beside her when things turn loud. I nodded because anything else would be cowardice. We carried the bags to the door and paused. Theo took one handle and passed it to me. No drama, only transfer of weight and responsibility. Go, he said and reached for the light. We stepped into the hall and darkness followed. Outside, Mara leaned against the railing and shook. Keep moving, I urged and lifted the heavier case. We still have 2 conversations and a message. She straightened and wiped her eyes with the heel. Resolve returned like a grip on a ledge. Halfway down the block, her phone buzzed twice. A new number and an accusation spilled across the screen. Homewrecker, followed by a screenshot of us at the cafe. The timestamp matched yesterday and turned my stomach. Someone near us had been filming the whole time. Faster, she muttered and quickened her pace. We cut through side streets and reached the bus. I shielded her while she typed a short reply. To all concerned, the wedding is cancelled today. She hit send to a growing list of names. At the stop, I checked the envelope and hesitated. Rent covered 30 days exactly and no more. Theo's steadiness echoed like a moral we didn't want. We used this month to be worthy of it, I said. Mara nodded and stared at the road ahead. The bus arrived and we climbed with our bags. I held the rail and balanced our new life. Messages kept stacking, but we did not break. We rode in silence and counted down to 6. Another battlefield waited, and there was no shelter. The door opened and his mother blocked our path. Inside, her voice clipped the entry like a blade. Explain the message before I call everyone back. Mara stepped through first and I followed into heat. We ended it, Mara began with spine straight. No postponement and no secret pause, she added. His mother studied our hands like evidence on display. Say why and say it clean, she demanded. I love someone else and I will not proceed. The room swallowed that line and gave nothing back. His mother shifted her focus to me with purpose. Confirm you will stand beside her publicly tonight. Yes, I answered and kept my gaze fixed. I will address anyone who asks with clarity. Her mouth tightened and then leveled into business. You both will help me notify the list. She placed a notebook on the table with force. No gossip channels and no vague statements, she warned. We send one message to guests and vendors now. Her pen hovered like a trigger we both feared. Mara lifted her phone and opened a draft. Subject line first, she said with a steady inhale. His mother nodded and dictated short, precise lines. Mara typed while I watched the minutes drain. Use simple words and accept blame, his mother continued. Do not attack and do not excuse, she added. I read over the draft and removed 2 hedges. We trimmed it until it fit like a blade. Mara read the final text aloud without shaking. Ceremony cancelled, we regret the disruption, no replacement date. She added one final line and looked up. We ask for privacy while we inform family. His mother held out her hand for the phone. She scanned every syllable and handed it back. Send to the planner first and copy me. Mara pressed send and the die rolled. My pocket buzzed twice before the next breath. Unknown numbers lit the screen like warning flares. A photo of us near the river appeared. The caption accused and the timestamp matched yesterday. His mother's jaw clenched as she saw the image. Who took this and where did it appear, she asked. Neighborhood group chat and one private story, I answered. Then it spreads fast unless we move, she replied. She opened her own phone and began dialing. Line up calls for the next hour, she ordered. Parents first, then closest relatives, then everyone else. Mara nodded and squared herself for impact. The first call connected and a voice erupted. Mara kept repeating the decision like an oath. She listened and let anger burn through untouched. She ended the call and leaned on the table. Next, his mother prompted with clinical calm. Mara dialed again and braced against fresh noise. I stood with my arms folded and silent. 2 calls, 3 calls, the stack kept climbing. Midway through the 5th call, the door opened. Theo stepped in wearing restraint like armor and duty. He took in the scene and nodded once. Keep going, I just need 2 items. He crossed to a cabinet and retrieved a folder. Then he looked at us with a steady breath. Are you two sleeping together tonight? He asked plainly. Mara answered with a tight, honest yes. Then published the statement after these calls finish. He placed the folder on the table for his mother. Insurance documents and contact sheets, he said evenly. Use them to unwind what needs unwinding. He moved toward the hallway and paused near me. I need one more commitment before I disappear. Do not revise the timeline to protect faces, he added. I nodded and felt the air grow heavier. Good, he replied and reached for the door. His mother called his name with a sharp breath. He turned but kept his distance like a mark. Thank you for handling this like adults, she told him. He bowed his head once and left without noise. Silence pooled for 3 counted seconds and broke. His mother turned and resumed the mission briskly. Finish these calls and draft the public note. Mara took the last parental call with trembling fingers. She listened, then placed the phone flat on the table. That one said she will pray for us, she whispered. She didn't cry, she just steadied and stared forward. His mother pulled a thin envelope from the folder. Deposits listed here with deadlines and policies, she said. You will not face the planner alone this afternoon. Mara looked shocked and grateful and terrified at once. I opened my phone and started building a list. Photographer, venue, band, florist, suit shop. Every name got a timestamp and a responsibility. We agreed who would call which number next. We worked in rhythm, fast and unornamented. Mara informed, I confirmed, his mother reinforced. When one of us faltered, another stepped up. The list shrank and the clock kept swinging. Halfway through, my screen flashed a friend's message. Why am I finding out from screenshots? It read. Mara saw my face and gave a single nod. Call them now or it becomes worse. I walked to the hallway and hit dial immediately. I am telling you directly before rumors finish, I began. My friend exhaled like a tire losing air. Are you sure? He asked, but he already knew. Sure enough to take the fallout with my name. We talked for 1 minute, then he softened. You owe me a drink and a full story, he said. I'll settle for the drink first, I answered. Back at the table, the planner was on speaker. Contract allows partial refund only, the planner stated. We accept that, Mara answered and tapped her foot. Please send confirmation by email in 1 hour. The planner hesitated and then agreed to the timeline. We hung up and checked the list again. 2 vendors remained and a catering issue. Money bled, but the exit stayed visible. His mother poured water and pushed a glass over. Hydrate or you'll collapse before the last call. I drank and pushed the glass to Mara. She swallowed once and nodded without words. The final vendor answered and requested a written notice. I typed as Mara dictated precise sentences. We signed with both our names to end debate. I hit send and marked the list complete. His mother stood and gathered the folder carefully. You have until 8 to send the public note. After that the avalanche starts either way, she warned. Mara took a breath and met her eyes. We'll release it at 7 on the dot. Her mother-in-law to be held my stare. Not mother-in-law anymore, she corrected with grit. Just call me once, no titles, clean exits. We thanked her and moved toward the street. Outside, messages multiplied like hornets in a jar. A cousin demanded details and a friend cursed. Strangers chimed in with recycled outrage. Mara typed a simple response and deleted it. She turned off notifications with a final swipe. We control what we can and walk fast. I matched her pace and kept scanning corners. At my building we rolled the bags upstairs together. The apartment felt small, but it was ours tonight. We stacked cases by the wall and breath slow. Neither of us sat, we just stood and listened. Call your family now before the note, she urged. I dialed and braced for a familiar storm. Questions came hard and quick like thrown stones. I answered each one with short, steady lines. Is this lifelong or a passing surge? They asked. I am committed, I replied and meant it fully. Silence, then a sharp inhale through teeth. Then come by tomorrow and face everyone. I agreed and ended the call with a promise. Mara touched my forearm and searched my eyes. We go together or we do not go, she said. I nodded, grateful and frightened in equal measure. We stood at the counter drafting the public statement. 3 sentences, 1 attached signature, no extras. We read it aloud and trimmed a final word. At 7 exactly, she hit post and locked the phone. The first comments landed before we took a breath. Some supportive, some cruel, some curious. We let them stack without engagement or defense. The ceiling seemed lower, yet we stood taller. At 7:20 the intercom buzzed once. We flinched and traded glances like cards. Expecting anyone? I asked, already moving. No one, she answered, eyes wide and ready. I pressed the button and a voice sounded clipped. It's me, Theo said, all business and curt. I left a box by your door downstairs. Click, the line went dead like a dropped call. We hurried down and found the small square package. Inside lay 2 spare keys and a folded note. Use these for the week and return later. No flourish, only logistics and quiet grace. Back upstairs, we placed the keys on the table. Mara traced the edge of the note with a fingertip. He is better than we deserve, she whispered. I didn't argue because the truth stung us both. My phone rang with an employer number next. I answered and braced for a policy lecture. We received complaints about a public scene, HR announced. Keep professional boundaries clear and avoid discussing this here. I understand and will not bring it to work. I kept my answers short and neutral on purpose. The call ended and I stared at the wall. Consequences now had layers and schedules. Mara unpacked a single small bag and stopped. She placed a toothbrush beside the sink and paused. A domestic detail felt heavier than all the calls. We live here tonight, she said, almost asking. We live here tonight and we keep showing up. I opened the window and let in city noise. Not for romance, just to hear something steady. We finally sat and let the room hold us. The intercom buzzed again at 8:15. We froze and didn't breathe for a beat. I pressed talk and heard a different voice. Open up, it's your father, came through gravel. Mara stood quickly and gripped the back of a chair. Let him in, she said with a steady nod. I hit the switch and the lock clicked once. Steps climbed with determination and old authority. He entered and closed the door with measured force. Are you finished playing with lives? He asked coldly. Mara lifted her chin and did not retreat. We ended it today and we own it. He scanned the apartment and then faced me. You will protect her when this turns ugly. My answer came before fear found a root. I will defend her in every room. He stared at both of us until the silence cracked. Tomorrow morning you meet the extended family. No hedging and no theater, he warned. Bring proof you canceled everything cleanly. Mara handed him a printed copy of the statement. He folded it once and tucked it into his coat. Good, he said, then pointed at the keys. Return those when the week ends. He reached for the door and paused in the frame. Do not post again tonight, he instructed. Let people exhaust themselves without replies. He left without another word and the air shivered. We let the building settle for a long minute. Then we stood and cleared the table methodically. We plugged in our phones and set them aside. We agreed to review messages only every hour. 9:30 brought a call from the planner again. Contractual confirmations sent, the planner reported. Please acknowledge before midnight, she added quickly. We confirmed and filed the emails in one folder. At 10 we drafted the message for Theo's parents. We kept it short and unadorned and sincere. Mara read it aloud and adjusted one phrase. We sent it and expected nothing in return. The reply arrived within 5 minutes, unbelievably calm. Receipt acknowledged, we will handle relatives on our side. We stared at the screen and exhaled in tandem. Mercy appeared where we least expected it. 10:40 brought a final surprise on my phone. A colleague offered to cover my morning shift. Take the day to sort your life, the text read. I thanked him and promised to return the favor. We brushed our teeth like soldiers packing gear. Not tender, not distant, just efficient and focused. She touched my wrist and stopped me from pacing. No more avoidance, she whispered, eyes unwavering. We are together and we are not hiding. The words landed and stayed like anchors. We lay down and stared at the ceiling. The city outside kept moving, and so did we. Just before sleep, one last message flashed. A block number offered a poisonous question. "Will you apologize publicly for humiliating Theo?" it read. I typed back a single line and hit send. We already apologized to the only people owed. I set the phone face down and turned to her. She nodded once and slid closer without a word. Tomorrow promised more doors and more tests. I didn't know which friendships would survive the blast. I did know what I would not do anymore. I would not run from the rooms we created. I would not pretend this was accidental or small. Midnight arrived and the building finally quieted. We lay awake and counted slow breaths together. Guilt and relief shared the same crowded space. Morning waited just beyond the thin wall of sleep. Morning ripped me out of sleep with the intercom. "Open up," a familiar voice crackled through static. My stomach clenched before I even stood. "We're here," her father announced from the stairwell. We unlocked the door and stepped back fast. Two aunts followed him in with tight faces. They scanned the room for weakness or lies. "Where are the documents?" one asked, already marching. Here, I held the folder like a shield. Receipts, confirmations, vendor replies, clean and final. They flipped pages and checked dates without blinking. Refunds partial, schedule cleared, names removed, one counted. "Sit," her father ordered, not raising his voice. Mara remained standing, chin steady, hands open. "We are not renegotiating," she said with control. "We are informing and answering questions, then leaving." An aunt leaned closer and searched my face. "Did you chase her or did she wander?" Heat crawled up my neck, but I held still. "We chose each other and we accepted fallout." "Did you sleep together while they planned vows?" The words snapped like a trap under boots. Mara stepped between us before I inhaled. "We crossed a line last week and stopped." Stopped because of guilt or fear of exposure. The other aunt clicked her tongue like a metronome. Stopped because we needed truth before anything else. I kept my eyes forward and refused to flinch. Her father lifted a hand and ended the rhythm. "Enough," he said, drawing the room back. "You will face the cousins at noon." "You will not argue or dramatize," he added. "We will answer and then exit," Mara replied. "I will also drop keys at my mother's." The aunts exchanged glances like silent notes. "Come downstairs in 10, one said, already turning. They left and the door rattled in the frame. Mara leaned on the counter and breathed in pieces. "You okay?" I asked, even though I knew. "I am upright, which will have to do." I brewed coffee and remembered not to chatter. We drank in silence and counted out minutes. Somewhere in the building, a vacuum roared. My phone vibrated, then stopped like a heartbeat. Downstairs, a living room held a small tribunal. Chairs lined up, eyes forward, phones pocketed. Her father stood at the center with authority. "Questions only, no insults, keep it brief." A cousin raised a hand and didn't wait. "Is social media accurate or exaggerated?" Mara met his gaze and kept her tone level. "The event is cancelled, we are together, that's accurate." Another cousin, arms folded, voice cold and clean. "Do you expect invites to future holidays?" "We expect nothing," I answered and felt sweat form. "We show up when asked and stay polite." A younger cousin spoke softer, unsure of the ground. "Did he treat you badly at any point?" "No," Mara answered quickly and with weight. "This isn't punishment, it's direction," she added. Her father checked his watch and pointed at me. "Your family at what time?" he asked steadily. 11, I replied, throat dry but ready. "Then go, leave before small talk starts." We reached the hallway and stopped to breathe. Mara touched my sleeve, not quite a squeeze. "Thank you for not ducking," she said low. "We're halfway through the worst rooms, I hope." "Deh." On the street, a friend stepped from a doorway. He looked at us like he'd rehearsed speeches. "I told Theo I'd check on you," he started. I braced for judgment and forced my shoulders down. "I won't choose sides, but I have conditions." He counted them on his fingers, sharp and careful. "First, no posting even if baited. Second, if you fight, call me. Third, don't rewrite the story for sympathy." "We won't," Mara said, voice steady and spare. He studied us like a coach reading injuries. Fine, I'm still here, he concluded and stepped aside. At my family's door, the air changed weight. We rang once and waited without speaking. The handle turned slow, like a final warning. Faces appeared, wary, familiar, and braced. Come in, my mother said, eyes steady, jaw set. She looked at Mara, then at me once. Tell it straight and then eat something. We stood at the table and did exactly that. Are you safe together or are you spiraling? Safe, I answered, not pausing for doubt. Then you will sleep and drink water and show up. Her instructions landed like rules from childhood. A cousin I barely tolerate spoke from the doorway. You blew up the group chat and my day. Mute us, I said, surprising even myself. He rolled his eyes but shut his mouth. My father slid an envelope across the table. Just in case first month kicks you, he said. The weight felt like both gift and burden. We have money for rent, I told him. Then use this for groceries or emergency, he replied. No speeches, he added and ended the debate. We hugged without drama and stepped back quickly. Come tomorrow and bring laundry, my mother instructed. Outside again, the phone screamed in my pocket. Unknown number again, relentless and insistent. I answered and heard an office tone. Your presence is requested at HR tomorrow morning. I'll be there on time and alone. Bring no devices, the voice added and disconnected. I relayed it to Mara in a whisper. She squeezed my wrist once and released. We walked to the bank and requested a statement. Proof of deposits because questions never end. I signed and tucked papers into the folder. Evidence stacked but trust would lag behind. On the sidewalk, a car slowed beside us. The window lowered and Theo's friend leaned out. Get in, he said, voice flat and careful. Mara stiffened but she didn't back away. I'm not here to threaten, he continued calmly. Someone is planning to leak rehearsal photos. The words spread through my chest like cold. Who, I asked, keeping my voice in check. Not sure, but I heard a time. Tonight at 9 through a local blog. He looked over his shoulder and lowered his voice. Cut them off by posting your own timeline. We already posted a statement, Mara answered firmly. You need more specificity, he countered without heat. Get ahead or watch them invent dates. He passed a card and pulled away slow. We stopped walking and stared at the curb. Do we clarify and fuel the fire? Or leave it and take the hit, I asked. Mara bit her lip, weighing damage against control. We add a line and nothing else, she decided. No details, just when it changed, she said. I typed a draft and showed her quickly. She nodded once and pressed publish with a thumb. The update traveled fast, faster than truth ever does. Comments stacked, but the rumor slowed a notch. We kept moving and reached the office building. We collected a box of my desk items. I left the plant, I left the framed photo. Objects without utility had no place today. I signed the visitor log and exited quickly. One guard nodded like he'd already heard everything. We grabbed food from a corner deli and ate standing. 2 bites in, a woman approached with her phone raised. Are you the homewreckers from the feed? She asked. Mara looked at me and then at the camera. We are the people you're talking about, she answered. Please stop recording, I added and stepped sideways. The woman hesitated, then lowered the device slowly. Respect gets respect, Mara said and held her stare. We tossed wrappers and kept moving toward the river. I almost mentioned our first kiss location, then didn't. We weren't here to replay, we were here to continue. I breathed slow until my hands stopped shaking. At 3, the doorbell rang at Theo's mother's place. We entered with clean shoes and quiet voices. She watched us arrive and pointed to chairs. Your message earlier was correct and concise. Thank you for sending it promptly, she continued. I have one request before we end this. Write a note to Theo for closure. 3 lines, no excuses, print it, she instructed. Mara grabbed a pen and stared at the page. Thank you for loving me, I couldn't go through. I wish you peace and space, she wrote simply. She folded it once and passed it across. His mother slipped it into an envelope without comment. You can go, she said, tone even and resolve. Ved. At the door she paused and looked at me. Guard her from your own doubts, she advised quietly. Back on the stairs, Maura stopped and sat. Her hands trembled now that no one watched. I counted to 5 and then crouched low. We can break for 20 minutes and breathe. She nodded and laced her fingers through mine. No romance, just gravity and a truce. After a while, she stood and reset her shoulders. We still have the neighbor council tonight, she remembered. At 5, our group chat exploded with a new leak. A cropped photo from the rehearsal dinner circulated. Our hands close under the table, barely touching. The caption shouted and the comments howled. Do not reply, I reminded, pulse spiking high. Let our update stand and stay off screens. Maura powered down her phone entirely and exhaled. We will survive 24 hours without it. We reached home and filled a trash bag. Flyers and leftover bits from old plans. We cut ties with paper and twine and tape. The floor cleared and my chest loosened. At 6, a knock shook the door with urgency. My manager stood there with a printed policy. Take 2 days unpaid and avoid the floor. I'm protecting you from a scene, he added. Thank you, I answered, surprise bending my voice. He nodded and squeezed my shoulder once. Make it worth the mess, he muttered and left. I closed the door and leaned my head against it. We cooked simple food and ate standing again. It felt like boot camp, not a date. Maura washed a plate and looked out the window. I miss quiet, she whispered almost to herself. We build it, I replied and meant it hard. We calendar silence like it's more important than errands. She smiled without humor but softened a fraction. Put it in your phone, she ordered. At 7, the neighbor council assembled in the lobby. Complaints about delivery people and noise and trash. A retired lawyer glared at us over his list. Keep your personal drama off common property, he warned. Understood, I said, hands visible, voice calm. We will not bring crowds or reporters here. A woman in a cardigan softened and offered cookies. Everyone survives something, she murmured, almost kind. We returned upstairs and secured the latch. Maura collapsed onto the floor and covered her face. Are we terrible? She asked through her fingers. No, I answered, not hedging, not wavering. The intercom buzzed again at 8:30. I braced for another confrontation or another delivery. Theo's name flashed across the small screen. I pressed talk and kept my voice even. I'm outside with one more item, he said. Hand it through the gate, no conversation, I replied. We met at the entrance under a tired awning. He held out a small velvet pouch. Earrings for your mother, he explained, eyes dry. She loaned them to mine for the rehearsal. I accepted and nodded once in thanks. He glanced past me toward the stairwell. You two look less guilty today, he observed. Maybe that's good, maybe not, he added carefully. Maura appeared behind me and took a step forward. Thank you for being decent, she told him honestly. He studied her, then shifted his gaze to me. You hurt me, but you didn't lie today. He slid his hands into his jacket and exhaled. Last thing, changed the locks by Friday. He turned away and walked down the block. Maura watched him go and didn't move. Are we okay? I asked, hearing my own fear. We're not okay, we're in motion, she answered. 9 approached like a wave we couldn't dodge. The blog posted with a dramatic headline and arrows. They guessed dates, they invented whispers, they judged. Our update blunted it, but the comments still burned. We shut laptops and moved to the window. The city sounded different after a public storm. Sirens far away, laughter under our street a clatter. Life kept going while ours rearranged itself. My phone buzzed with a message from HR again. Bring your badge and be prepared for reassignment. The few words crawled under my skin and stayed. Maura touched my shoulder and waited for my eyes. If they move you, we adapt, she said. We will not let work dictate our home. She let her hand fall and stepped back. We will also accept consequences when they land. 10 brought a call from an unknown counselor. I offer mediation for engaged parties, she introduced. I almost hung up, then paused at her tone. Free of charge tonight if you want. Maura took the phone and paced a line. We won't reconcile, but we can debrief once, she said. Tomorrow afternoon, neutral space, the counselor suggested. We booked it and hung up with a plan. We changed the sheets and opened the window an inch. No ceremony, just practical resets and new air. Mara pulled out a notebook and drew a grid. Not chores, boundaries, time, money, family. We rotate calls and divide errands fairly, she wrote. No hiding, no midnight spirals, no edits, I added. We signed. Our names like a contract we wanted. We taped it to the fridge and stepped back. At 11, I returned Theo's envelope by text. A photo of the deposit slip and a message. We will not use your money, I wrote. He replied with a period and nothing else. Midnight approached and the building settled slow. I packed a small bag for morning just in case. A shirt, a notebook, a pen, a charger. Mara watched me from the doorway without speaking. Come with me to HR, I asked softly. I'll wait outside and bring coffee, she offered. We keep showing up without hiding, I echoed. We locked our phones and lay down again. Sleep wouldn't come, so we talked logistics. Thanksgiving, rent, therapy, a fall trip maybe. Planning felt like oxygen after a day of fire. We drifted in and out, not fully resting. Just before 1, a final ping broke the quiet. A message from Theo that I didn't expect. I met someone from the venue tonight, it read. They were kind, I will be fine. I handed the phone to Mara and watched her breathe. Relief and sorrow sat side by side in her eyes. Do you want to reply? I asked gently. She shook her head and placed the phone down. We stared at the ceiling and let that settle. The week ahead unrolled in my mind like track. Meetings and meals and repairs and maybe hope. Every piece heavy, every step chosen. I do not admire how we arrived here. I do not pretend we deserve applause for damage. But we faced the rooms we once avoided. We took names, we answered, we stayed. The city thinned to distant engines and footsteps. I reached for her hand under the sheet. She held tight, steady, alive, not running. Morning would test us again and we would go.